So for this video, I'll be taking a chronological look at Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'll point out most of the aspects of the movie that are devoid of logic. And before you grab your pitchforks, I'm not trying to hate on the movie. This is just a fun critique that will shine a light on different areas that don't make sense. So first, let's look at the mother boxes. They are supposed to be highly protected and are something that Steppenwolf desperately wants, so why aren't the buildings they are in more secure? For example, there's a massive hole in the ceiling for the Amazonian mother box strongholds, and for the Atlantean one, Steppenwolf just teleports in and comes up through the bottom. Do they ever question the security of the compounds or test them? At least the Amazonians have like 20 people just staring at it at all times, which in of itself is kind of funny. Then we have the men, who just bury the mother box 1 foot into the ground and call it a day. The Amazonians are probably like, no, you can't just bury the mother box in the ground. Steppenwolf can't find it if we can't find it. Ironically though, just forgetting about it and losing it seemed to be the best method in stopping Steppenwolf from finding the mother box. Despite the parademons being able to track their scent, but oh well. So moving on from the mother boxes for now, we have a scene where Batman confronts Aquaman. When the scene ends and Aquaman leaves, we have a really weird moment where the natives start singing. This mostly makes sense because they seem to be worshipping him, but I don't know why Zack Snyder decided to have a whole 2-minute scene of the natives singing and sniffing Aquaman's clothes. It was just very off-putting and devoid of logic to extend this moment for that long. As one of the first impressions for the movie, this made me pretty worried for the quality, but it did end up getting better. So going into Wonder Woman's introduction, she has to deal with some bad guys who have a very generic motivation to restore the world to the old ways by killing a bunch of people. Which, in other words, they're basically just here so that Wonder Woman can have an action scene. And going back to their motivation, it seems like all they want to do is blow up this place. So why doesn't the main bad guy just detonate the explosive device when Wonder Woman shows up? This is obviously nitpicky, but it's still devoid of logic from the villain's perspective. They already want to die, and it seems like Dinah is killing them anyways, so why not just detonate the bomb? Also, looking at Wonder Woman's powers from Justice League to her own movies, it's very inconsistent. At no point in the first Wonder Woman movie in 1984 is she ever fighting like this. It looks like she has on Commando for Modern Warfare 2 because she's just lunging around everywhere at super speed. Also, the physics in the scene are very wonky. This shot of a guy rocketing up towards the ceiling from Wonder Woman barely touching him is hilarious. The bad guys look completely weightless in this scene and it's very noticeable. But it does make the scene much funnier though, I have to admit it. Moving ahead later in the scene, Wonder Woman stops the bomb from going off, and then she blows up the building anyways with her gauntlets. Way to go, Wonder Woman, that was completely unnecessary. I don't know why she didn't just use her super lunge ability to disarm this guy. I guess the filmmakers just wanted to set up her using her gauntlets, despite it not making sense for her to destroy part of the building to take out one guy.
You okay, princess?
Can I be like you someday?
No, I'm sorry little girl, but you're not a demigod like Wonder Woman. This isn't really devoid of logic, but it's so on the nose that it made me laugh when I was watching it. So later on, Steppenwolf inevitably walks on in through the big hole in the ceiling at the Amazonian stronghold for the mother box. In general, there's a lot of aspects that don't make sense in this scene. Firstly, while transporting the box out of the building, the Queen stops and has a dramatic moment to talk to one of her fallen comrades. Like, why the hell is she talking to this girl? She's literally surrounded by parademons and is in immediate danger. She should be getting the hell out of there because her sole objective is to get the mother box away from Steppenwolf. But I guess talking to a dying Amazonian is more important? After that, they then seal the chamber. But what's the point in sealing it when there's a massive hole in the ceiling that they can just fly out of? If anything, the Amazonians are just killing more of their own here. I also don't assume they survived because for whatever reason, sealing the chamber somehow makes the cliff self-destruct and fall into the ocean. Which in of itself, I don't know how they made that happen. Then, instead of getting the hell out of there, the Queen decides to just stare at the wreckage. Like, everyone should know Steppenwolf is fine. He's literally flexing arrows out of his armor and he's getting dogpiled by beefy women. So, some rubble should be nothing for him. And while staring at the wreckage, surprise surprise, he emerges. Great job, he could have been running for the hills by now. So for this scene, I want to add a suggestion to make it less devoid of logic. I think it would have been much better to have a Darth Vader style hallway fight scene of Steppenwolf demolishing his way through all of the Amazonians to get to the mother box. Action wise, it would be much more badass and it would solve the whole ceiling access issue. Having a buildup of him fighting through the hallway would make the progression of this action scene much better, and then when he gets there, they can try to extract the mother box. So moving on, we have another Aquaman scene. I like how he keeps throwing away his shirts before he goes back into the water. Like, where does he get all these shirts from? This just reminds me of the whole Hulk conundrum where he always has a new pair of clothes after he hulks out. During the whole flashback sequence where Darkseid is trying to dominate Earth, he is for some reason not doing it with any armor. As a result of that, he just gets one-tapped by an axe and runs home crying. That is both stupid on Darkseid's part and on the filmmaker's standpoint, because how are we supposed to treat Darkseid as a menacing and intimidating villain when he immediately gets rolled? I don't know if he underestimated Earth or something, but not wearing armor in general is a bad idea. You don't see Thanos walking around shirtless, although I would assume some fans may want to see that. Also, I like how Wonder Woman is giving Batman this whole 10-minute exposition monologue. I'm just surprised he hasn't fallen asleep yet. So, moving on to the next scene, we have Steppenwolf interrogating people for information as to where the Atlantean mother box is. For this moment, I just wanted to point out a MacGuffin device that Steppenwolf has that allows him to read people's minds. Like, wow, that's oddly convenient for the plot. Why does Steppenwolf even ask this guy where their mother box is, when he can just read his mind?
Where is it?
No son or daughter of Atlantis will ever tell you.
In the scene where Batman meets Flash, he first says this.
I know you have abilities. I just don't know what they are.
And then he proceeds to throw a batarang right at his face. If you were uncertain as to whether or not he could actually see things in bullet time, then why would you throw a batarang at him? That could have instantly killed him. I wonder if Batman did this before and showed up to the wrong person's apartment and just headshotted them. So going back to the mother boxes and the anti-life equation, there's a scene where Steppenwolf has a vision that the anti-life equation is on Earth. However, Darkseid found this out when he initially tried to conquer Earth. So did he just forget that the anti-life equation was on our planet, on top of him just leaving the mother boxes there? It doesn't make sense that he forgot about the planet he lost to, especially since there are important artifacts that he left behind. The only logical explanation I can think of for this was that Darkseid was so embarrassed by the defeat and chose to forget about it, and that doesn't paint the best picture for a menacing villain. The movie also presents a fact that the reason why the mother boxes were asleep and didn't call out to Steppenwolf was because Superman was around and the mother boxes were afraid of him. Thus, the mother boxes woke up when Superman died in the beginning.
Not until Superman died.
It's like they were afraid of him.
But what doesn't make sense is why the mother boxes were not awake before Superman was even a thing. What was the big threat keeping the mother boxes silent before Superman? But yeah, this is mostly just a plot hole. I like how Batman doesn't show up for the Superman confrontation. The Justice League just leave him behind in the Kryptonian ship. I don't know if that was intentional, because Batman shows up later anyways. It's just weird because I imagine Batman was like Hawkeye in Age of Ultron when he got left behind.
Nobody would know. Nobody.
Moving ahead to the end of the scene where Steppenwolf steals the last mother box, Batman shows up late to the party again. Poor guy, nobody is transporting him around quickly, so he's always late. After this point in the movie, it goes full tilt towards epic action. I didn't really find anything else to be that devoid of logic during these action scenes, and it was just a really fun time. The Flash running into the past makes the last third of the movie outstanding. But looking at the ending of the movie, they opt for a Lord of the Rings-esque epilogue, where the movie has a bunch of different endings. That's mostly fine, but including an entire 10-minute scene from the Nightmare Premonition, instead of just a small teaser, was a bit much. Especially since the movie is 4 hours long. Then after that, Zack Snyder for some reason throws Martian Hunter in a really awkward scene where Batman doesn't even want to be talking to him.
I'm sorry.
Who are you again?
It's just a really weird way to end the movie, and I would say this is partially devoid of logic on a creator's standpoint, besides it just being fan service. But yeah, that's basically it. I thought the movie was pretty fun, but it is weighed down by a lot of exposition and origin stories. If the mother boxes and the antagonists were already established like with the Infinity Stones and Thanos, then I think this movie would have a much easier job in telling its story because they have a lot of legwork to do in terms of exposition. So yeah, let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments, and if you liked this video, then check out my other devoid of logic videos in the end screen.